sound preferences are. I like bass. And if it can have quantity and quality, yeah, I'm rocking it. Especially mid bass. I like the slam over the sub bass rumble. I like my mids super clean. Not a big fan of overly colored, overly thick, overly warm mids. Not a big fan of that. And highs that are very sweet and seem to be able to keep up without ever being overbearing or in your face. So Oh, hey. Sorry. I was jamming away. ONIX XM5. Called the Overture. That's what music does to me. It's emotion. And I love it when it moves me. Feynman 400i headphones. You don't see me sporting a lot of those. I'm not a big fan of cans on my head. I'm more of a fan of resin in my ears. Spoiler alert. I adore you very much. Let's do a little history 101 from ONIX. The Overture, high-end portable player. ONIX calls this the high-end audio in-pocket focused on pure music. I don't know if it's the pocket that's focused on pure music or something in your pocket for pure enjoyment. Should you be playing with something in your pocket for pure enjoyment? Well, when it comes to this DAP, yeah, I think you should. This is the first player from this brand, ONIX. And I think they did pretty darn good. And I also think there's some room for improvement and things maybe I would ask for in a future player. But let's jump into just who ONIX is. So I just want to give you a little context. You've heard in the DAP world, Astle and Kern, you've heard Ibasso, you heard Shanling, Hibby. Those are names synonymous with digital audio players, but you haven't heard ONIX. So here I want to give you a little context of who these guys are. Well, first of all, they've been around quite a long time, and let's just talk about that for a second in ONIX's words. About ONIX. If you turn your gaze to the south of London, to the map of the British Isles, you will find a small seaside town named Brighton, a famous holiday resort in England and known by many as the capital of British music and art. The soul of creativity in the 1980s, ONIX was born there. In the beginning, 1979 to 1996. In 1979, the founder Tony Brady, who was studying at Brighton Technical College, began to design power amplifiers in a warehouse next to the Brighton Pier. And his friend Michael O'Brien was shocked by the amplifier, its petite size, massive driving power, and at that time, Michael was already a manager at Rogers, a famous British audio brand, and he immediately understood the potential of Tony's creation. I remember selling in this little high-end boutique store in Vancouver, Rogers LS35A. I didn't understand the name when I first started. I certainly did when I left. It was just a phenomenal little powerhouse monitor that looked plain. It actually kind of looked kind of ugly, but man, did it sound good. I understand where this is coming from. With its joint efforts of Tony and Michael, ONIX was officially born. With its first classic models, the QA20, the QA21, launching in 1981, over the next 10 years, ONIX gradually gained a foothold in more than 30 international markets, including Germany, United States, Singapore, and Japan. And at this time, ONIX developed its trademark black and gold aesthetics that are followed to this day. Times are changing. So 1997 to 2022, around the turn of the millennium, facing surging international market competition and new design approaches for the world of hi-fi, ONIX had to change with the times. So in 1997, Mr. Pu Xiao-Xiong from Taiwan, Sound Art Company, acquired the core technology and brand ownership of ONIX. Thanks to Mr. Pu Xiao-Xing's broad international vision and exquisite tuning skills, the next generation of ONIX machines were upgraded and modernized. The sound became more atmospheric and offered an increasing precision while preserving the traditional approach to British hi-fi. With these changes, ONIX With these changes, ONIX popularity grew and became even more. With these changes, ONIX popularity grew, and it even became known as Little MBL. Another trademark event for ONIX was the start of the cooperation with Shandling Audio, a highly reputable OEM manufacturer. With the heritage going back to 1988, ONIX has been working with Shandling since 2003, keeping up with the original audio design and the traditional look, launching a wide range of models over the years, culminating the release of high-end OC93 and OIA92 devices in 2022. A new era, 2023. For the audio industry, which is fairly young, with just 100 years of history, change is the ever-present theme. Nowadays, it's facing new generation of users with a big push towards streaming, smart systems, desktop devices, and rising demand for high-end headphone rigs. In May of 2023, ONIX announced its return to the international market with a launch of the new ONIX Miracle. High-end hi-fi stack at the Munich Hi-Fi Show, bringing a brand new and unique concept to the audiophile world, combining all the experience of ONIX audio tuning with Shandling's development of streaming-ready systems and portable players. After 40 years, ONIX is here once again, setting up new trends from the seaside town of Brighton, over the island of Taiwan, to the booming Great Bay Area. ONIX is still going strong and keeping its origins and traditions. So meet the new ONIX XM5 Overture player. I'm here to talk about it. Pretty excited about it. I want to thank ONIX and Shandling for selling this unit to me for a discount so I can bring it to you. Now, one of my concerns was, well, I already bought the M5 Ultra, and I really like this player. But I didn't want to buy a second, more expensive player being redundant and sounding the same. So I'm here to tell you that they do have two distinct sound signatures and help you maybe determine if one is better for you than the other. Now let's get the fun, boring stuff out of the way, shall we? Well, sometimes it's boring for me, could be exciting for you. This player is $739. Or $749 for this full synthetic PU case that covers all four sides and is probably one of the nicest little cases. Absolute no-brainer for $10. It's actually a shame to put the case on this player. It is so beautiful, keeping ONIX's design language. It's just black and gold, phenomenal. I've been running this for the last probably 3-4 hours before I shot my review, just to put the sound signature fresh in my mind. You notice my videos aren't like other people's, where it sounds like a infomercial. For me, I'm shooting from the hip. And just really wanted to present my reviews from my heart on what I heard to you. So let's go. ESS SABRE's latest flagship 32-bit multi-channel DAC chip is in here. Not only that, it uses the XMOS XU316 third generation 16-core USB signal processor. Full support for 32-bit, 768 kHz PCM and native DSD512 audio signals. ONIX in-house developed FPGA architecture controls the DAC chips, It's the heart, it's the controller, it's the clock, it's what keeps everything beating inside of the Overture player. Dual Texas Instruments TPA 6120A2 op-amp chips are used for the amplification stage in a Class AB architecture. Inside sports dual Texas Instruments TPA 6120A2 op-amps for the amplification process in an AB class architecture. It boasts a 128 decibel signal-to-noise ratio and has independent power supplies. This player has tons of power. Over a milliwatt of power in balance mode at 32 ohms, enough to drive full-size cans. It had no problem firing up my Hi-Fiman 400i's. I only can get to about 55 volume on medium gain on balanced output, so quite impressive as well. In the wireless section, using a 2.4 or 5G network capability, has over-the-air updates, the full Wi-Fi gamut for doing DNLA, for AirPlay, for online title streaming only, and Wi-Fi transfer. On the Bluetooth side, it does two-way Bluetooth 5.2 protocol. It can do LDAC, it can do aptX, it can do aptX HD, and the full gamut of codecs. It uses a 3-inch, there's a bad one. It uses a gorgeous 3-inch 720p OLED screen. For its juice, it has a very large 7,000 milliamp hour battery that they say will give you up to 14 hours. My usage, I would get 3 to 4 sessions on 4.4 medium gain at louder volumes. So yeah, I think the battery ratings are about right. Weight-wise, 275 grams of extremely solid aluminum chassis here, versus in comparison to the M5 Ultra at 247, you can feel the difference between the two. This one felt solid and great. This one feels that you've paid extra and got extra. And I'll talk about also in a bit one last specification, and that is a lot of talk about this, about the output impedance. In single-ended, it rocks 4.6 ohms, and in balance mode, 6.6. So in real-world testing, using all of this gear, the Hi-Fimans, the 9-ohm Elysian Acoustical Labs Pilgrim, all drove it wonderfully, and I don't find this player colors anything overly much, and if it did color anything, it colored it in the right way. So I think it's really a non-issue for the output impedance for all the gear. I've went through a bunch of stuff when it came to my testing, and in fact I'll talk about sound here as well. I mean, so some of the gear that I used, I showed you the Hi-Fimans, and some of my top favorites. In the start of this video, you see that, right? So the Shandling ME600s. So this IM is a hybrid. It sports two 6mm biodynamic drivers, and they're already pretty organic sound. They sound like big 15s in a ported enclosure, but yet have the speed of 6mm dynamic drivers. And I didn't think it was missing anything. But when I played this, the special sauce that I knew, that I saved these for last. I knew this had special sauce, but it didn't cement that home until I played it on these IMs, and I'll talk about sound in a bit here. I want to share with you some of my thoughts on the XM5. And this is really diving down into its sound now. So before I saved my ME600s for last, I played it on the nice HCK Himalaya. It's one of my favorite single dynamic drivers. I played it on the DAP Audio Project M. I played it on the Penon 10th anniversary. I played it on the Jazir 61T Butterfly. A lot of my favorite sets. And every set that I played it on, I knew this player was doing something special. And this is my observations. So follow along a little bit with me and indulge me just a little bit. So I do think that all sources do have a unique sound signature. And when I'm looking for synergy between gear, I find some, for instance, like the Astel and Kern Con Max, that it sounds wonderful on certain gear, but horrible on others. And I could say that pretty much about every source, I think, except for this one for me. And the reasoning being is, firstly, the XM5's special sauce. The special sauce is it adds an extra dimension to the bass, a fuller, more oomph, 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 more oomph, and more rounded notes to the bass. Now, I'm not talking about a V-shaped extra colored bass boost. I'm just talking about an effect to fill out bass where you didn't know you were missing bass. The XM5 is doing something special to the bottom end. It has a very nice, full, rounded out bass where it could take notes, and where there was 2/3 of the information, or you thought you had all the information, it's adding in an extra third to that, where it's enhancing the notes. It's making them deeper, pull lower, have more texture, more nuances, more stereo effects to bass. And that is extremely rare. Never heard another source do what this does in the bottom end, and that's its special sauce. And again, I don't find it boosted as it is just filling it out completely and completing the bass notes. That's wonderful. I think the overall sound signature to describe the XM5, and this is what else my takeaway was from my listening with this player and falling in love with it, is it overall has a analog kind of quality, but it's just overlaid with great clarity in the mids that just can pull out details, instrumental and vocals. And I think ONIX described this player as a slight V-shaped sound signature, but the way I hear it is it's not boosting those frequencies, it just renders those frequencies so well that they come through cleaner and more resolving. To be able to do something analog yet be highly resolving, super clean, adding in the special sauce in the bottom end, nice vocals and instrumental in the mid-range, and of course the nice top sparkly, very detailed top end. So I want to talk about stage. Wow. Okay. DAP Audio Project M. That IM can do special things. I said in my review on that one that listening to Cher kind of sounds like the top of your head is lifting off. Well, take that up 2 levels when you pair that DAP Audio Project M to this DAP. The stage goes, I was listening to some jazz. The stage went from, phenomenally deep and high and nice and wide to completely 3-dimensional, where at 1 minute you could hear audience behind you. You could hear then a full presentation from the band in front, the 3-piece band. You could hear that the bass player was playing on the right and was 12 feet from you. The piano player was back about 20 feet and dead center. and then on your left you hear the guitarist closer to you, and just off center. I mean, it was so precise, so pinpoint, and you could then also project that you were sitting down in a chair and they were playing above your height, with the two side instruments, but the piano player was playing at your ear level. It was such a cool effect that I have never heard before from any gear together. Those two were simply amazing. Back to the Shandling ME600s. I saved those in my pairings for last. This has these dual dynamic drivers, 6mm bio drivers, and they have a natural organic sound that sounds like in a 15s in a ported enclosure. But when I played them on the XM5, what happened again was that extra dimension of bass just rounded out that phenomenal bass out of these IMs already and just made them a special replay. My biggest surprise there was the speed of now. I have never heard those 6mm biodynamics go so low, hit so hard. That was what actually shocked me. Out of all the other DAPs that I've owned, never heard that before, where it not only made the bass deeper, more organic, more information, but it tightened it up in a way that I couldn't get a giant, shit-eating grin off of my face, right? So that's what it did for me, and why I can speak so easily about this player with such emotion, because that's what the XM5 does for me. Staging is off the hook. Power. On low gain, it says like 14 milliwatts of power. I keep thinking it's a typo, because on low gain, I get up to 55, and that's all I could do on this player at very loud volume levels for the majority of gear that I have. So kind of thinking like, how? And that really has to do with the amplifier section in this, that it has so much reserve headroom that it can do transients and produce power instantaneously so quickly with such a dark background that is truly impressive, truly standout. I'm going to now talk about, in this next section, the physical layout. Okay? Now, first part, I'm going to leave the case off. What I love about the 4 buttons on the front, yeah, I do. What does that remind me of? Oh, my Ibasso DX90, right? Man, oh man, do I love those 3 front buttons. Man, oh man, do I love those 4 front buttons. Not quite as much as those ones. One thing you'll notice is how big these ones are and how small these ones are. One of the things that I would give feedback to ONIX in the next reversion of this would be to make those buttons bigger, please. But I sure do love the fact that they're on top. This whole layout of this DAP is fantastic. On the top, you have your USB-C, you have your memory card slot, takes up to a 2 terabyte card. On the bottom has your 3.5, 4.4, and this beautiful volume wheel on-off button. And the rest of it has this really kind of industrial grooved lines on the side that, if you were not sporting a case, does give it some grippy factor. Here's something else for you. I've been running this pretty hard for the last 3-4 hours before I did this review, and this DAP barely gets warm at all. So Slide it into this beautiful case, protects it on all four sides. Absolutely love that. Now your volume wheel has actually got some protection on it as well. It's well designed. What a beautiful, beautiful case. You probably can't see it so much as the doesn't come out through the light. My pictures will show it better, where the black and then the gold stitching. Again, pretty cool. Flip side of the coin, some quirks. There's no double tap to wake. Because of that OLED screen, I'm pretty sure ONIX chose to go with this high resolution screen, this beautiful screen, but it didn't have the ability to do double tap. I'm kind of okay with that. The top four buttons, okay, they're a little too flush. It would have been nice to have A, bigger buttons, and B, to have them more prominently sticking up. When you are not looking at this player, it's actually hard to differentiate which button does what. I'm finding myself, I'm constantly counting over with my thumb, 1, 2, there it is, 3, to do a function, right? Playback, skip, pause, whatever, like that. So it'd be nice if the buttons were a little bit bigger, they were a little higher, and there was something to differentiate that. I would have loved to see like the play pause button, a shape of a play pause. That would have been cool. And the function buttons, and or here's a suggestion for ONIX for the XM7 to backlight these four buttons and make that or at least the function button. Would have loved to see that. Would have loved to see any kind of LED light for status indicator, on, off, charging. Would have been even sweeter if you could do that with the backlit, like the volume control, like the M5 Ultra. And what I'd really love to see is an RGB function where that lights up with the sampling rate. That would be primo. But, and again, I would pay more for that in a higher end player. Absolutely. I like the glitchy stuff. What can I say? Next up, keyboard. Keyboard. Well, if you have fat fingers, that keyboard is impossibly small. I am constantly making input errors and having to go back. My fat thumbs on this smaller 3-inch screen don't work well. I don't know what else could be changed unless making the screen bigger or somehow just making the font bigger. I don't know if there's a solution for that, but I just wanted you to be aware of that as well. So I'm not going to get too deep into the UI. I did that with the M5 Ultra, and if you want to dive more into the UI, go back and please watch my video for the Shandling M5 Ultra, please. But let's flip over the screen for a second. I just want to show you some of the things that I think are standout that I use on a daily basis, and I think what makes also this UI on this player stand out. So first up, here is the title screen, but let's go back for a second. So the UI is very M5 Ultra M-Touch Shandling software. So is it as fluid as the M5 Ultra? No, I don't think it is. It does hesitate a little bit. Not a deal breaker again, but that was my observations. So it has these, again, M5 Ultra. You can see how dark this OLED screen is. It's terrific. Same configurable menu system. So go back to that configurable system for a second. You just keep pulling over to the left, and here you can kind of set which ones do you want on your screen first, or not at all, right? So the only thing I've left off is the frequent and the recent buttons. So if I go back here, and this is my main page, I have it configured where my title, all songs, my favorites, playlist, playback settings, and system settings. I find that's what I use the most often. So let's hit title first up. So that's the title screen. Here allows you to show your new music that came from title. I'll pull that off of title, top tracks. So this is a kind of a basic interface, right? It's not the full Android version because this is not an Android player. This is a Linux-based M-Touch system. Title rising, genre, and my collection. So one of the things I will tell you about this is on your playlists, there was a little quirky thing where it wouldn't show all of my playlists. And that's because I discovered that some of my playlists were actually created on my laptop. Where if you create a playlist on title on, say, an Android device, I haven't tried this with Apple, but it will then populate, it will show up in the M-Touch software, whereas before, if it was created on my laptop, it actually wouldn't show it. So if you want all your playlists to show up on your M-Touch player, simply create them on a portable device, and I think that's the workaround. So that's title. Let's get rid of that. Some of the things I want to just show you are into the system settings, but before that, let's go here. This was one of my favorite little things too. You hit those three little lines. It can do your A/B repeat right there on top. So if, like me, I want to listen to one song and I'm trying to listen to that same song over and over again with, say, I'm comparing different sources or different gear, I can just keep playing that over and over. Multiple speed. So I asked somebody, said, oh, does it have that? And I was like, why would you use that? That sounds kind of weird. Are you trying to trippy up 60s music or a little bit more or what? It's like, no, actually, if you're using it for audiobooks and stuff like that, allows you to speed up the speed. It's like, oh, okay, that's cool. So for some people, that's quite a usable feature and unique. Add to playlist, super easy. My test tracks, all my favorite shit. Back to that for a second, sorry. What I really use this more than anything else is delete song. So when I download my music on my card, whole albums, and I'm listening to a song on an album, I like that song, I like the artist, I like the album, but I don't like that song. Get rid of it. Super simple. And honestly, versus all the other players that I have, that is the easiest to use. So I want to go into system settings here for a second. Network services. So there's your DNLA, AirPlay, Wi-Fi file transfer, display settings, screen off time. Again, super nice that you can totally customize that from 15 seconds to 30 minutes. Lyrics mode, as far as I understand it, the interface screen is always bright. Though I don't really have any lyrics unless I'm playing title. Back here. Your idle screen. So you have your sleep timer. Turn that on and you can adjust it just like a little clock. Kind of cool. Standby shutdown. So some DAPs like the Can N3 Ultra here doesn't auto shut off ever. There's no option for it. Drives me insane. Where you can choose the XM5 to do either auto standby, right? 5 minutes will automatically go into standby mode, or auto shutdown So again, now it gives you a choice of from between 1 minute to 10 minutes where it'll actually turn off and save your battery. Battery on this thing is fantastic already. So I actually, on this player, kept it as standby mode. So when I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go. Those are coming to the... I want to show you something else. This is unique. I haven't seen this before in another player. So some players allow you to take the screen and be able to flip it upside down. But check this out. So 0 degrees, so regular, you're hanging on to it like this. 90 degrees, so you're flipping your player over. Here's your volume control here again. Actually, do you see how smooth that is on the screen as well? Lovely. Right? So that's 90 degrees. And if you like operating your player this way, how about 180? So now you've got it actually upside down. This would be in your, pocket where your volume control is there. Your outputs are on the, I would say now the top, right? Your 4 buttons are still going to do the same functions, but your screen rotations is converted to 180 degrees. 270, kind of the opposite of that second one. So now your volume on off is over there. It's configurable 4 ways. I thought it was pretty cool and unique, right? Screen rotation, custom function key. So that 4th key over here. So play, pause, track forward, backwards, forwards, backwards. Yeah, like that. Is configurable as well. So I have mine returned to main menu, screen rotation, button lock, lock screen, gain, and favorites. Would I have loved to see this function key software feature have it wake the screen? Yeah, that would have been super cool. Maybe they'll add that in the future. I'm hoping so. ONIX, please. Okay, right after I shot this video, I popped onto the Head 5 forum, and lo and behold, someone has discovered something that I completely overlooked and was kind of yanging about, where you can actually turn on and off the display by using the function key. And yes, I don't know how I missed it. There it is. It says lock screen on your choice with the function button. There you go. That is kind of most of what I want to show you. The playback settings, again, so you could do your gain there. There's 2 ways of doing some of your quick features as well. Digital filters. Okay, this is probably the 4th source I've ever tried with all my DAPs and dongles that you can actually hear an audible change when you're adjusting these filters. And with the XM5, I can. So these aren't just little things, minimum phase, fast roll-offs, slow roll-offs. You can hear a difference there. Volumes. Here's another really cool standout feature that I use quite often. So setting an ability to automatically set your maximum volume level. This is something that I love, and the fact that I like to play it loud, but I also don't have a limit switch. Well, the player does, so it kind of helps me protect my hearing by not letting me go past a certain volume. The default volume, again, kind of cool feature, because you think about this, you turn the player on and say it was set for, it remembered what your volume was last time and it just completely blasted your ears. Well, this one will automatically set it to where your level control is, where you're fine to start off your volume control for a listening session. So I could actually kind of do like that feature quite a lot as well. DSD output mode, D2P, DOP, or native gives you all those choices as well. USB audio output, because they have a separate chip to control the USB out, You can have it fixed, you can have it variable as well. Gapless replay gain, of course it has that. You can turn it off. Audio track, very smooth, works fantastically, by the way, or by album. Channel balance. When I was listening to those 400i's just now, they have channel imbalance. I know that. This fixes that by giving you a channel balance option as well. So, last thing I want to show you is the pull down screen. So here you can choose to have Wi-Fi or Bluetooth on. You can't do it simultaneously. Not sure why that is, but that's the same as the M5U. Button lock, again, wherever you configured it in that other screen, will do that as well. So it will either allow you to do button lock on the volume, or these, and or both. Your gain settings are right there again. This is your quick pull down menu. USB storage. So when you're setting it to USB storage and you're loading files on here, it automatically updates. So as soon as you unplug it, it'll update your library. You can turn that on and off as well, but I thought that was pretty cool. Or you can then configure it to USB DAC mode or USB audio mode. Your line output, sets line output to max volume and a little warning screen. Continue, enter. So you want to set your phone output to line output. It's right there. So it's software configurable. And there's your two playback settings and your brightness as well. ONIX, please do me a favor and get rid of this background screen for the menu. It cheapens the player. I would love to have it in just all black and not this kind of goldy, blacky, swirly thing that kind of looks like cheap marble. So all black, or please let us configure that. The player has a configurable lock screen where you can change the image. I saw that, but I asked, and it doesn't have that as well. That is it for that. Let's flip this bad boy around. Just to summarize, what I like about the XM5. Well, I really like Shandling's M-Touch Linux-based non-Android software and UI. It is awesome. Like I said in the M5 Ultra review that I did, it's probably one of the best user experiences that I've had on a DAP. I think it's intuitive, it makes sense, all of it is easy to find, and it's customizable as well. So the top buttons, I really do like those top buttons. And when I saw this player, that was one of the things that I really went, wow, I love that. Do I wish they were bigger? Yeah. The menu function, again, with those 6 per screen large icons that, again, you can customize. And I just find that a really easy to use. And again, part of the UI, well thought out, well done. I like the ability to delete a song. I like the ability to set max volume and default volume. I like the fact that this has a companion app to my phone or another player through the Shandling's Edict player app, where you can set this as the source and the other device as the controller. So you could be surfing on your phone and still have access and control of the XM5 sitting on the seat beside you. Very cool. Love that feature. Fantastic. You can set it to work over Bluetooth, or you can set it to work over Wi-Fi. And I have no issues with connectivity on that at all. Auto update after loading music. Again, I really like that feature. I'll load music on the memory card, side load it, disconnect, and it's already uploading, or it's already updating my library. Fantastic. The sound. Realistically, it's colored in a way that works for me. Though I don't find it coloring, is just in the fact that it's enhancing. I think I'm going to use that word again. I think that's a better descriptor. Overall, the XM5 sound signature. Again, I love that the undertones of having a very organic player, but yet layered over top of that is that dimensional bass, that super resolving clean mids, and that sparkly top end that again just enhances, but it doesn't V-shape stuff in a way that I don't like. It's built like a freaking tank. The form factor, awesome. Love it. Stays cool running all the time. The M5 Ultra definitely gets hotter, where this thing stays lukewarm at best for me. I like the long battery life. I can get 4 sessions, 3 hours, 4 hours out of it before I have to recharge. That's pretty good, that you don't have to constantly think about charging this overnight to be able to use it the next day. What I thought needed improvement, or I didn't like as much, I thought the buttons are just too flush. They don't have enough texture to them, and they were a little too small for my tastes. They all have the same shape. Again, I'd love to see if they were backlit or some kind of differential that you could do without actually having to look down, and it would be by tactile feel versus look. The no double tap to wake, not a deal breaker, and having to use the volume wheel. It definitely makes it harder with the case on to do that. But again, I found my way with my left thumb. So there's no LED light. Wish it had one, at least for charging, to let you know that it was doing that and or done. And the title interface, though I wish it was a little bit more Android-ish. But I'm again okay with the way it is. I can live with that. In conclusion, with the XM5, I will say, because people want to keep wanting to compare the M5 Ultra to the XM5, and I will tell you that they do not sound like at all. Where the M5 Ultra had some warmth to it, as is the Shanling's house sound signature, the XM5 doesn't have that. In fact, the mids are very clean. They're not colored in the way that the M5 Ultra is. The difference in the bottom end, while this one has, again, really nice bottom end, this is adding in that extra information, the extra oomph, the extra dimension of the bass, where the M5 Ultra didn't have. Top end, they're both detailed and sparkly, but the stage on this is Shanling's entry-level player, and it's competing with higher-end players as well. But this is a top-tier DAP. That's where I place it. In comparison to my $1,300 Astral & Kern Con Max, this is not an all-rounder. Sounds great with some, not with others. This is a phenomenal all-rounder. This makes it, for me, above this player that's twice its price. Shanling M8. Though I sold it after I got my M5 Ultra, I will again say at $1,600, the ONIX XM5 is competing in that price at a top tier DAP level. Would I be looking forward to an upscale version of this player, an XM7 with backlit RGB volume control and backlit buttons, larger buttons on the front? Yeah, I certainly would. I would pay more for that as well. The special sauce that the XM does. One of the things I said about the Ibasso DX180, phenomenal player, its special sauce was it added an extra dimension in the top end where it could really bring out the top end details, and the bass was tight and punchy, but it didn't have the special sauce that the XM5 has. And for me, who is a bass head, I would prioritize that more. The high end is phenomenal on the top end, but the bottom end is life-changing. Okay, that was a bit over the top, but you know what I mean. The wicked staging. Unbelievable. And very highly resolving and detailed as well. So I really love that player. I'm emotional about it because it moved me in a way that none of my other DAPs did, or my sources. So bravo, ONIX. Thank you for bringing this to the market, and thank you to Shanling for your contribution and your distribution of this wonderful player. So this is the Tone Deaf Monk. I'm out for now. And for you Canadians watching, happy Canada Day.